Good morning. We talked of different types of explosions, and we talked of explosions involving, let's say, hydrovolcanic explosions, in which case you had water getting into a volcano. We talked in this involved flash vaporization. We talked in terms of rupture of pressure vessels. We talked of gaseous mixtures in both confined and unconfined mixtures, gaseous mixtures of fuel and air, both in confined and unconfined geometries. We talked in terms of dust explosions, again involving confined and unconfined geometries. We also talked in terms of maybe the liquid and solid explosives. See, whenever we talk in terms of these explosions, what did we say? Well, we have the energy release taking place from the flash vaporization in a given volume, high pressure gas in a given volume, or when I have a confined gaseous air mixture in a given volume, I have solid explosives in a given volume. They burst, generate the blast waves, and when it affects, let's say, somebody or some building somewhere, well, it causes damage, or it also causes any other form of damage. But we say building damage to human beings, damage to buildings, and damage to other establishments around it. It is the blast wave which causes the damage. But then what happened is you have a finite volume source which releases the energy, and this energy is not released instantaneously. Like for instance, when we had gaseous air mixtures, we said when most of the explosive mixtures have a large activation energy, and therefore the rate of energy release as a function of time is not something which abruptly releases energy at 0 time, but it takes some time for the induction reactions to take place. Thereafter, you have spontaneously a large increase in reaction, and then the rate comes to 0. In other words, if I were to look at this particular, the time taken for release of energy, the chemical reactions effectively start here, chemical reactions terminate here. Well, this is the time over which this particular time is the time over which the energy gets liberated. So also, when I talk in terms of, let's say, a burst of a pressure vessel or a hydrovolcanic explosion, what is going to happen? I have the time axis over here. Over a small period of time, I have the energy release, and the effective duration of energy release is maybe something over here. This is the duration over which the energy gets released. Now, therefore, we are talking in terms of all these explosions, namely a finite volume associated with energy release and a finite time of energy release. But when we talked in terms of, let's say, blast waves, we modeled it. What was the assumptions we made? We made an assumption that at a particular point, some energy E0 joules is impulsively released, and this sort of drives the blast wave. In other words, we are talking of energy which is released at a point. But in practice, what is it we find? Energy is released in a given volume, point 1. Point 2, it is impulsively released. Rather, if I were to take the time over which rate at which energy is getting released, I find, well, all the energy is released impulsively at time t is equal to 0. That means the energy release is at t is equal to 0 itself. Therefore, I cannot have point release in practice. I cannot have totally impulsive energy release or spontaneous. That means that duration of time T or duration of energy release Tc is not equal to 0 as was assumed when we calculated the blast wave from a point source, and that point source releasing energy spontaneously. And what did we do to calculate all this? We said, well, we had the plot of Rs divided by the explosion length. we had something like overpressure P minus P naught divided by P naught. We had a curve like this. Well, this curve was for the particular case when the energy, the explosion length R naught was equal to the energy released spontaneously at time t is equal to 0 divided by ambient pressure to the power 1 by 3. Therefore, whatever we did for blast wave was for an ideal case. And what was this ideal case? Ideal case was for point source of energy and second, the duration of energy release is equal to 0. This is the ideal case, whereas all the explosions which we studied have a given volume, they have a finite time, and therefore they are terribly non-ideal. While studying blast waves, we also found that, well, if the energy from the source over here does not go to drive the blast wave, but it manifests itself as heat, let's say it is released somewhat slowly, then it could go to heating the medium. And how could it heat the medium? By conduction it could heat, maybe by convection, by turbulence, maybe the heat could travel at some velocity, namely by, let's say, conduction, heat transfer you could have convection, you could also have radiation of heat. You know, such types of heat, which is energy getting radiated away from the source, does not drive the blast wave, and we said it is something like waste energy as regards the blast wave is concerned. But the problem is, in practice, yes, we will have waste energy. All the energy does not go into the blast. We also do not have an ideal source or an ideal blast wave, in which case an ideal is something which is driven by a point source of, let's say, the time of deposition of energy is 0, whereas in practice I have a definite duration and a definite volume. Therefore, the question is, how do I reconcile these two? Now, my predictions must be for an actual explosion, whereas what we predicted was for an ideal case for which we predicted. Therefore, we wish to put things together. Therefore, in today's class, I want to look at what we call as an yield of an explosion, YIELD, yield of an explosion. And we also will look at maybe the TNT equivalence of an explosion. We talk in terms of TNT equivalence because now the moment I say TNT is a condensed phase explosive which has a high value of let's say the detonation velocity. It also has a high value of Chapman-Jouguet pressure of the order of 190 kilobar. You know, in the last class, maybe instead of 190 kilobar, I expressed it as MPa. Maybe it's not right. Actually, in terms of MPa, it should be 190 into 20 MPa, and the pressure behind a detonation is typically in terms of kilobar, that is 190 kilobar, and I had denoted it by MPa. Well, anyway, we would like to have TNT equivalence because when I have the detonation of an explosive like trinitrotoluene, what happens is the CJ velocity is quite high, of the order of almost 7,000 meters per second. The pressure is very high, and this TNT is used as a standard by which maybe I can represent an actual explosion. We will see what is to be done. And therefore, in today's class, we consider TNT equivalence and yield of an explosion. To begin with, let's say I have a given volume in which energy gets released, and I want to find out, can I put this in terms of pressure which is created by the particular energy release in a particular volume? Well, the internal energy in the volume is U, so much joules per kilogram, or rather the total mass of this is mass into the internal energy, so much joules, because mass of this volume is so much. The mass of this volume is equal to the density of the volume, and let us consider a spherical volume whose, let's say, the radius is RE. Radius of the spherical volume in which energy is getting released is, let us consider RE, because I want to consider the effect of the volume of the source or volume of the energy release. Therefore, the volume of this spherical vessel whose radius is RE is equal to 4 upon 3 pi RE cube into the density is the mass into U, and what is U? CV into T. Therefore, I get the energy which is available in this source, let us put it here, energy which is available in this source is equal to rho 0 into 4 upon 3 pi RE cube into CV into the temperature of the particular gas over here. See, we have been looking at CV earlier. We said Cp, specific heat at constant pressure minus specific heat at constant volume, is equal to R. Taking Cv outside, I have gamma minus 1 is equal to R. Therefore, I can write Cv is equal to R over gamma minus 1, and therefore, the energy as equal to rho 0 into 4 upon 3 pi into Re cube into, I have R divided by gamma minus 1, Cv is equal to R divided by gamma minus 1 into T. And therefore, if I look at this particular combination of rho 0 and RT over here, I know from the perfect gas equation or an ideal gas equation, PV is equal to MRT, M by V is equal to your rho, and rho is equal to M by V is rho is equal to P by RT, or P is equal to rho RT, or rho 0 RT is the pressure initially, and let the initial pressure in this volume be, let us say, P of the explosive. Therefore, I have rho is equal to P by RT is the initial temperature, and therefore, I can get the value of E0 as equal to 4 upon 3 into pi, the radius of my volume 4 upon 3 pi R cube, this should have been 3 Re cubed here, 4 upon 3 pi Re cube divided by gamma minus 1 into, I have rho 0 RT is equal to P, this is my value. Now, I want to get some idea on the influence of Re, therefore, I divide both the left hand side and right hand side by the ambient pressure, and what is it I get? I get E0 by the ambient pressure, which I call as P ambient, is equal to 4 upon 3 pi Re cubed into the pressure of the source which is driving it divided by the ambient pressure. Now, if we go back and say, well, this is my energy which is getting released, this is P0, and this is something like an explosion length. Mind you, when we talked of explosion length, we did not consider a given volume, but this energy is released in a given volume. Therefore, E0 by P infinity to the power 1 by 3 was R naught. This is therefore equal to R naught cubed over here. And therefore, you get this is equal to R naught cube, that is the explosion length cube, is equal to 4 by 3 pi into Re cube into the explosion pressure divided by the ambient pressure. Or rather, from this, I get the value of the source radius, that is the radius of the source releasing the energy divided by R naught to the power 3. I take R naught on this side, Re by R naught cube is equal to 3. Somewhere I have missed out gamma minus 1. Well, I had gamma minus 1 here. I had gamma minus 1 over here. Therefore, I should have had gamma minus 1 over here, or rather gamma minus 1 over here, and therefore, I will have 3 into gamma minus 1 divided by 4 pi. Let us see if it is all right. Re divided by R naught is equal to 3 times gamma minus 1 divided by 4 pi into P ambient divided by PE over here. Now, we take the value, therefore, the energy release takes place in a radius Re divided by the explosion length R naught is equal to, I get 3 gamma minus 1 divided by 4 pi into P by P ambient divided by the pressure of the explosive. Let's put it down, I will give the numbers shortly, into explosive to the power 1 by 3. Now, In the last class, when we looked at detonation of TNT, let us apply this for TNT in specific, and what we find is P infinity, or rather P explosive for TNT is equal to, we said 3, something like almost of the order of, I just gave a number here saying that it is of the order of 190 kilobar. Is the value, which comes out to be 190 into 20 maybe 30 bar, and this 190,000 or 19,000 so much MPa. The ambient pressure P ambient is equal to 0.1 MPa, and therefore, if I were to solve this equation for Re by R naught, what is it I get? I get the value Re by R naught is equal to I get gamma minus 1. Let us assume for the hot gases in the particular volume, gamma is equal to 1.2, gamma minus 1 is 0.2, I get into 3 divided by 4 pi into the value of 0.1 is the value of P ambient. The value of P is said is equal to 190 with 2 zeros over here to the power 1 by 3, and if I simplify this, I get the value as equal to 0.006, that is the value of Re by R naught. Therefore, you find when I use TNT as a source for generating the blast wave or as an explosive, the value of the radius of TNT divided by the explosion length comes out to be this particular number. But I cannot draw any conclusions from this number by itself, because all I want to say is what is the effect of the radius of the explosive on the blast wave, and therefore I go back again to my ideal case of a blast wave. And when we considered the ideal blast wave, what did we tell? We said, well, we found out what is the value of P minus P ambient over pressure divided by pressure as a function of Rs by R naught as coming from a point source, and we had a curve like this. We said when in the strong blast region, for which the overpressures are quite large, that means equivalent Mach number of the blast wave is greater than around 4, we could have a closed form expression relating the Mach number of your shock wave or the Mach number of the blast wave with the Rs by R naught, and the expression what we had was, we had ms square is equal to 1 over 4 pi I gamma into 1 over Rs by R naught cube. In other words, we had an expression for Rs, the value of Mach number at any value is Mach number is m, and we had the value of Rs by R naught, and we had the relation ms square is equal to, where I was a constant, we said it was an integral, and we had the constant as 0.423, and let us plug in the values and see. Let us consider the case when I consider a case wherein my overpressure is quite strong, and what is it I get? I get the value of Rs by R naught cube from this particular expression is equal to 1 over 4 pi I gamma into ms square. Taking a strong blast wave, ms is equal to 4, the value comes out to be 1 over 4 into pi 3.14 into I 0.423 into gamma. Let us take the same value, let us say 1.2 or 1.3 over here, and ms square is 16. And if I calculate the value of Rs by R naught based on this, this is equal to Rs by R naught is equal to 1/3 of this particular expression, because I brought ms square here, this is 1/3, and the value of Rs by R naught comes out to be around 0.22 or 0.21, let us say. Therefore, we are saying that a very strong blast wave is formed at a radius divided by R naught, Rs divided by R naught of 0.21, while when I look at the source energy, which is divided by R naught, gives 0.006. What is the conclusion we draw? Well, I have a source of a radius Re. I am looking at a blast wave. I find a very strong blast wave is formed at this particular Rs. This Rs by R naught is 0.21. Re by R naught is equal to 0.006, or rather we find Re is very much less than Rs, at which a very strong blast wave is formed, and it is almost 3 orders of magnitude smaller, and therefore maybe as I go further and further and the blast wave decays, my Rs further increases, and I am interested in these regions. Therefore, for the regions of interest at which I am interested in a blast wave creating damages, I find that my source is extremely small, and therefore for the case of TNT, in which I have a huge pressure, that is the detonation pressure, the Chapman-Jouguet pressure behind a detonation wave, I can assume that for TNT the value of Re tends to 0 because it is very small. Well, this I say therefore whenever I have an explosion involving TNT, even though I have a sizable mass of TNT and a sizable volume which drives my blast wave, compared to the distances involved for blast waves, this particular radius is so small I can consider it to be a point source. Therefore, an explosion involving trinitrotoluene or TNT we can consider to be a point source. But then it is not only point source which decides whether an explosion is ideal, but also the time over which the energy release, that is tau, must also tend to 0. Therefore, let us take a look at what is this typical time over which energy is released in TNT, and what is it we find? Well, let's assume, let's say I have an explosion involving just a number 1 kg of TNT. Therefore, if I consider 1 kg of TNT, well, that I have density of TNT multiplied by, let us say, 4 upon 3 into pi Re cube. This is the volume of TNT. This is equal to 1. Well, the density of TNT is around 1640. We saw this yesterday in the last class, kilogram per meter cube. And therefore, if the mass of TNT is 1 kg, I now have pi, I need to calculate the value of Re. Re is equal to 3 divided by 4 pi into 1640, so many meters, to the power I have 1 by 3, and what I get is this is equal to something like 0.053 meters. That means the size of this is something like radius is something like 5 centimeters is the type of radius. And since we are talking of detonation of this TNT, the detonation velocity of TNT, VCJ, that is the Chapman-Jouguet velocity of detonation, is something like 6940 meters per second. Therefore, the time taken to be able to detonate this solid of mass 1 kg is something like, I have 5 centimeters, let us put an order of magnitude here. We have the time duration over which the energy of TNT is released, namely tau. Assuming that maybe the detonation propagates like this and finishes the whole thing, is I have a characteristic length of 5 into, let us say, 2. If it is detonated at the center, it is just 5 divided by, I have the value as 6940, 5 into 2 or 5 divided by 6950, that is, this is 5 centimeters. Therefore, I have 5 into 10 to the power minus 2 divided by 6940, and this comes to something like 7 microseconds. If it was from end to end, it would have been something like 14 microseconds. Therefore, we are talking of time over which energy is released is a few microseconds, that is 10 to the power minus 6 seconds. And these times are so small, we are talking of detonation velocities, blast waves of something like Mach 4, Mach 5, which are something like 1500 meters per second, whereas these time scales are much smaller, and therefore, we can say it is released, that is tau tends to 0. Therefore, we tell ourselves when we consider the specific case of a TNT, the source radius tends to 0, the time over which energy release tends to 0, or rather TNT seems to conform to the case of a point explosion taking place spontaneously, or rather this seems to correspond to an ideal explosion. And since we know how to deal with an ideal explosion, namely we derived the equations, we saw on the chart how the impulse behaves with Rs by R naught, well, we say, well, TNT is something like an ideal explosion, and therefore it becomes necessary for us to be able to convert a non-ideal explosion involving a large volume, maybe involving a large or relatively large characteristic time of heat liberation or energy liberation, into something like an ideal explosion. We have to transform this, and that is where we talk in terms of TNT equivalence. Let's do this, but before I do this, let me give one or two small examples. Whenever any explosion occurs anywhere, when some news comes of the explosion, automatically we say, well, the TNT equivalence of the explosion is so much kg. Like for instance, let me take one particular example. I take the example of, let us say, we had an explosion in the metro rail in Moscow. This was on 29th March 2010. Some Chechenian rebels, they planted some bomb in the metro rail and it killed a few people. And what was reported was the metro rail explosion in Moscow had a TNT equivalence of 4 kg. Why look at this small example? If you look at the bomb which was dropped over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the TNT equivalence of this particular explosion is said to be between 10 to 15 megatons. Therefore, explosions are all categorized in terms of some equivalent mass of TNT, and in fact, instead of having figures like what we drew, you recall whenever we talked in terms of blast waves and ideal explosions, we had two figures, P minus P naught overpressure divided by the ambient pressure divided by Rs by, on this x-axis we had Rs by R naught. We had a curve for the overpressure as a function of Rs by R naught. We also had a curve for the non-dimensional specific impulse, let us say positive impulse, versus Rs by R naught, we had a curve like this. Now, if we are talking in terms of equivalent TNT, well, R naught, ideal, point source, 0 time. Therefore, I can always write R naught as equal to, R naught is defined as energy released by the explosion divided by the ambient pressure P0 or P ambient divided by 1 by 3. And what is the energy release? We said, well, TNT, the chemical formula for TNT was, it had the benzene ring, it was methylbenzene in which you added NNO2, therefore it was something like C7, H5, NO2, 3 times. That means what was there? Let's again go through the structure such that we do not commit a mistake on the chemical formula, because that's required to be able to calculate the energy over here. This is the formula. You had methylbenzene. And what did we do? We took 3 of the hydrogen atoms, we replaced it by NO2, we replaced here an NO2. Therefore, we had 7C, 3 plus 1, 2 hydrogen, 3 plus 2, 5, NO2 3. This is the formula for TNT. And when it burns or when it detonates, we form products of combustion. We found yesterday or in the last class that TNT is a fuel rich substance, and what we form is something like 5 corresponds to, let's write the products equation. You have 5/2 H2O. That means I have 6 of oxygen. I remove 2.5 of them. I am left with 3.5 of oxygen. It is fuel rich. I have 7 of C. 7 of C can only form 3.5 of carbon monoxide plus 3.5 of carbon as a solid, plus I have nitrogen, which is equal to 3N, that is 3/2 of N2. I know the heat of formation. This is an element, this is an element, and therefore heat of formation of these elements at standard state is 0. CO is around minus 110. We know the heat of formation of TNT. I know the heat of formation of water as being something like minus 286. This is minus 110. The energy liberated per kg of TNT comes out to be 4520 kilojoules per kilogram. I find out the energy release for 1 mole. In 1 mole I have, this is the molecular mass, and that the energy release for the reaction divided by the molecular mass comes out to be this value. Therefore, you have 4520 kilojoules per kilogram is the energy liberated in TNT, and therefore, if I were to write R naught, I can write it as equal to mass of TNT into the energy liberated as equal to 4520 so much kilojoules into 1000 kilojoules divided by 10 to the power 5 to the power 1/3 becomes my R naught, or rather all these things, 4520 is a constant heat release, this is a constant number 1000, this is ambient pressure 10 to the power 5 Pascal, and therefore I can also write Rs by R naught over here. I can also change the scale suitably. I can write it as mass of TNT to the power 1/3. Instead of writing Rs by R naught, I can also rub it out. I can write it as Rs divided by mass of TNT in kilograms to the power 1/3. And very often in most of the handbooks on explosions, we show the x-axis in terms of the distance traveled divided by mass of TNT to the power 1/3 instead of writing it in terms of the explosion radius. So also for impulse diagram, and therefore the TNT is used to represent an explosion, and if from this I find an explosion has a certain overpressure at some particular distance, well, I know the value of Rs divided by mass of TNT corresponding to this. I know the distance at which, physical distance at which this overpressure is felt. I can calculate the mass of TNT, and this is how we calculate the equivalent mass of TNT. Therefore, let's do one example to be able to precisely find this out. Let's take the example of the comet which entered the Earth's atmosphere at Ekaterinburg, just close to the city of Chelyabinsk. And what is it? This happened on 15th February 2013, last year. And when the comet enters the Earth's atmosphere at very high speeds, a lot of energy gets generated because the kinetic energy of the comet is stopped, and the energy released in this particular re-entry was estimated to be equal to something like 23,000 megajoules. Therefore, instead of saying 23,000 megajoules is the energy associated, the mass of TNT, which has the same energy as this particular explosion, comes out to be 23,000 divided by, per unit mass of TNT, the energy released is 4520 kilojoules per kilogram into 1000 joules over here. this is into 10 to the power 6. This is the TNT equivalence, and this comes out to be equal to 5.1 kilotons of TNT. That is 5.1 into 10 to the power 3 kilograms, that is 5.1 into 10 to the power 6 kilograms of TNT, or it is equal to 5.1 kilotons of TNT over here. Therefore, this is how you get for an equivalent energy what is the value of TNT. Like for instance, I have, let us say, some particular explosion which gives you an energy, let us say Q joules. Then what is the equivalent TNT for this particular energy is equal to Q divided by 4520 into 10 to the power 3 joules, and therefore this gives me Q, this value is so much joules per kilogram, this is so much joules, and this gives me so much kilogram of TNT based on the energy equivalence, that is mass of TNT based on the equivalent energy level. See, but then I must also remember that, well, this comet entered, it released so much of energy, or else I have an explosion which releases Q joules, and I have an equivalent energy in terms of mass of TNT as saying so much kilograms of TNT. Well, this energy need not be spontaneous, it might be slow, it might be fast, and therefore this mass of TNT may not be the correct picture, because TNT we said is something which is spontaneous, whereas this energy must be slower. What do we mean by this? Let us take an example. Let us consider the following example, namely, I consider some explosion taking place over here, and at a distance, let us say 100 meters away from the explosion, I find maybe the explosion is so strong that 100 meters away, all the people who are standing over here lose their ear. That means their eardrum gets punctured. Maybe another distance away, let us say at a distance of, let us say 2000 meters away, quite far away, the buildings which are all there, here everything is damaged, the glass windows of the building or glass panes of the building, they break. We had told earlier while studying blast waves that 34 kPa overpressure causes the eardrum to rupture, and something like 1 kPa, something like 700 Pascal or 1 kPa near about, causes the glass panes to rupture or break. And therefore, we say, well, the overpressure from this actual explosion, maybe it is very non-ideal, is such that at a distance of 100 meters away, I have 34 kPa overpressure. At a distance of 2000 meters away, I have an overpressure of 1 kPa. And now, instead of this particular explosion, which has, let us say, a mass of the explosion is ME, that is some non-ideal case. And how do I convert ME to TNT, mass of TNT, which has the same energy basis? Well, I find out what is the energy released in this particular explosion, divided by 4520 into 1000 so much joules per kilogram. I get the equivalent mass of TNT based on the energy release. I do one more thing. I find in this explosion, at this distance, the overpressure is 34 kPa. At a larger distance, maybe the overpressure is 1 kPa. Maybe I am focused on this, I want to evaluate this damage. Therefore, I replace this particular explosive by some mass of TNT, let us say TNT, and I make sure that this mass gives me this particular pressure. Therefore, I say this mass of TNT, I call it as mass of TNT, which creates the same blast damage at this particular distance. I am interested in this particular distance. This gives me the equivalent mass of TNT, which gives the same blast damage as the actual explosion. But if I were to take the mass of TNT, which gives me the same energy, well, it gives mass of TNT on the energy basis, namely the energy of the explosion, divided by 4520 into the conversion factor for joules, well, that gives me on the energy basis. But this is based on the actual blast damage, and the ratio of mass of TNT, which gives me the blast damage or the same blast damage divided by mass of TNT, which is equivalent, gives me the same energy, gives me what I call as the yield of an explosion. Why should this and this be different? Well, in this, all the energy gets into the blast wave. That means it gives me the blast at this particular distance. Maybe if I were to calculate the blast over here, since it's non-ideal, it may not really give me the same value here, but since I'm interested in this, I calculate this. If I'm interested over here or interested in overpressure, I calculate mass of TNT based on blast for that particular type of damage I'm looking at, divided by mass of TNT gives me the yield, and therefore this takes care of the actual point source and the duration of the explosion. That means here for this maybe time tending to 0, the radius, the source tending to 0 corresponds to actual TNT. This corresponds to only the energy basis, and therefore the mass of TNT evaluated based on a particular blast damage which a TNT explosive can cause, divided by the equivalent mass of TNT, is called an yield of an explosion. Therefore, we define two terminologies. One is the equivalent mass of TNT based on the energy equivalence, and the second term which we define is mass of TNT which causes about the same blast damage. And I think to be able to put things together, we need to do one or two small examples. Let's do a small example or two such that we are very clear, because I think this concept of TNT equivalence both on energy basis and the blast basis, and the ratio of TNT mass based on blast damage divided by mass of TNT based on blast damage divided by mass of TNT for the same energy what is released is what we call as the yield of an explosion. This is used very well, like for instance, maybe you have these insurgencies, we have a road. Let's say a terrorist plants a bomb on the road, and we want to find out, we find that maybe this bomb is planted, maybe a truck or a car is going over the road, this bomb is exploded, and therefore it has a damage potential. Therefore, we would like to see what is the type of damage which this bomb does, and we will find out for the same type of damage which maybe the vehicle encounters, maybe the buildings around this encounter, we will calculate the mass of TNT based on the damage which is observed. We also go back, we determine, well, what was the type of bomb which the particular person used, what was the energy released in the particular bomb. We divide it by the energy release per kg of TNT, which is 4520 into 1000 joules per kilogram. This gives me the value of mTNT based on energy, and the ratio of mTNT for the blast damage divided by mTNT is what we call as the yield of an explosion. Let me first take an example of a boiler bursting. I have, let's say, a high pressure boiler, a fire tube boiler. In a fire tube boiler, well, you have water at pressure, you have a lot of these fire tubes in it which heat the water. Let's say that the operating pressure of this boiler is 4 MPa, and at 4 MPa, the saturation temperature is equal to 250 degrees centigrade. This comes from the steam table. Now, at the moment of burst, let's say the boiler has 10,000 kg of water. Now, I first want to find out what if this 10,000 kg of water, which is at this 250 degrees centigrade, and when the boiler bursts, what happens? The ambient pressure of 1 atmosphere is available for this hot water to see. Therefore, the water at 250 degrees spontaneously evaporates because the saturation temperature corresponding to 1 atmosphere pressure is equal to 100 degrees centigrade, and therefore some energy is released. I want to calculate what is the value of TNT for the same energy which is released. Therefore, I have to calculate the energy of this particular explosion. And what did we do in the case of flash vaporization? We had the T versus V diagram, water line, the steam line, we had the 1 atmosphere pressure line, we also had a pressure for 4 MPa. This is the state of water. Let us say the state of water is 1, and this is at 250 degrees centigrade. 250 degrees centigrade. Well, this is at 100 degrees centigrade. When the boiler bursts, the temperature which the water can see is only 100 degrees centigrade. Therefore, the amount of energy content at this metastable state corresponding to this stable state corresponding to 1 pressure corresponding to 100 degrees centigrade is, let us say, HF1 corresponding to state 1 of the water. This, let us say, is state 2 minus HF2 for water. This is kilojoules per kilogram into something like 10,000 kilograms. This is the total energy which is available. We immediately look up the steam tables. We say HF1 we find is equal to 1087.29 kilojoules per kilogram. The value of HF2 corresponding to atmospheric pressure for water over here is equal to 417.4 kilojoules per kilogram, and therefore the energy content or the energy released when this water flash evaporates or when the boiler bursts is equal to 10,000 into 1087.29 minus 417.4, and this comes out to be equal to 6.7 into 10 to the power 6 kilojoules. Now, I want to find out what is the equivalent mass of TNT for this energy basis. Therefore, mass of TNT for the same energy is equal to 6.7 into 10 to the power 6 kilojoules divided by 4520 kilojoules per kilogram is the energy content of TNT per kilogram, and therefore the mass of TNT for the same energy is equal to 1482 kilograms of TNT. This is the value, mass of TNT. Now, when this boiler bursts, we also find, yes, there is a damage. Maybe the building around this boiler at a particular distance get damaged, and for this building to get damaged, I know that the value of overpressure P minus P ambient has a certain value given by P ambient. I know the particular damage which is caused. I find out what is the mass of TNT which was, if it was available here, would cause the same damage. I go back to the curves what I generated. I find that the mass of TNT, I use a different color, mass of, let us say, TNT, which causes the same blast damage as when the boiler ruptured or when it exploded, is equal to, let us say, 30 kg of TNT. That is 30 kg. Therefore, the yield of this particular explosion is equal to 30 kg divided by 1482 kg, which is equal to 0.0202, or rather 2.02%. This is the percentage yield of the explosion. In practice, whenever we have dust explosions or vapor cloud explosions, confined, unconfined, or any other form of explosion, the yield changes enormously. The yield could be as low as, say, 0.1% to as high as maybe 90%, or when I use very powerful solid explosives, the yield could even be greater than 100%. This is the way we calculate the yield, the TNT equivalence for the energy basis, the TNT equivalence for the blast basis. Let us do one last problem such that we are absolutely clear. This is an important area wherein not much research has been done, but we need to use the TNT equivalence whenever we talk in terms of non-ideal explosions. Therefore, let's consider the last problem. Let us consider a pressure vessel. Let us say a pressure vessel of diameter 2 meters. Let's say it ruptures. It ruptures when the pressure inside is 45 MPa. This is, and when the pressure, when this particular spherical tank of diameter 2m ruptures, it is also observed maybe at a distance from the walls of the vessel, maybe there are some people working near it, maybe at a distance of something like 0.2 meters, maybe the people are very drastically affected, they are totally killed over here. The overpressure at this particular distance of 2 meters from the walls of the pressure vessel, the overpressure is equal to 18 atmospheres. You know, an extremely high thing wherein there is total damage over here. I want to calculate, well, what is the TNT equivalence of this mass of TNT equivalent based on the energy basis, and also I want to find out what is the mass of TNT based on the blast basis, because I know the overpressure is 18 atmospheres at a distance 0.2 meters away, and then I want to calculate the yield. Well, to calculate the TNT based on energy basis, we know that the energy released in rupture of pressure vessels is equal to the higher pressure minus the ambient pressure into the volume divided by gamma minus 1, and this is already given as 45 MPa, ambient pressure is 0.1 MPa, therefore it is equal to 44.9 into 10 to the power 6 Pascal into the volume is equal to, the diameter is 2, therefore I have volume is equal to pi by 6 into 2 cube divided by gamma minus 1, let us say 0.44 air. Well, this gives me the energy over here. I have to convert it to energy of mass of TNT, therefore I divided this by 4520 into 10 to the power 3 joules, and this gives me a value of is equal to, based on energy basis, it is equal to 104 kg of TNT. Well, I have to calculate the effect of the blast, and what is it I do? I do a similar exercise, namely at a distance of 2 meters away. Now my center is over here, therefore my RS is equal to 1.2 meters. I know the overpressure is 18, therefore I have the relation between PS by P naught divided by P naught as a function of Mach number. I know for a shock wave, if I have to write the value of shock pressure, that is a pressure behind the blast wave divided by the ambient pressure, is equal to 2 gamma divided by gamma plus 1 into ms square. I can calculate, this is for a strong shock, I can calculate the value of ms. From ms, I can again write the value of ms square is equal to 1 over 4 pi I gamma into Rs by R naught cubed over here, and therefore for this value of ms, which comes out for this value to be around 4, I get the value of Rs by R naught, and I know the value of Rs by R naught, and now I know that in this case Rs is equal to 1 plus 0.2, 1.2. I can calculate my value of R naught in so much meters. Therefore, I know the value of the explosion length for this particular problem, and from R naught, what is it I calculate? R naught is equal to E naught by the ambient pressure to the power 1 by 3. I know what is the energy which is getting released driving this blast wave, and therefore mass of TNT corresponding to this blast is equal to this value of energy divided by 4/5. I know this value of energy, and this energy, since it is driving the blast wave, I can calculate the mass of TNT which drives this either from tables or maybe from 4520 into 10 to the power of 3 because this is not something which is energy equivalent, but this is based on the explosion length equivalent. I know the mass, and therefore I get the yield as equal to m mass of TNT for this particular blast divided by mass of TNT based on the energy. Energy is 104. The value of blast comes out to be equal to something like 4.63 kg, and therefore the yield of the explosion is 4.63 divided by 104, which is equal to something like 4.5% yield. And this is how we calculate for different problems the TNT equivalence and the yield of explosions, and this is all about the different types of explosions. Thank you.